Breaking news, for the very first time, Rodri has decided to open doors to Barcelona.
Big news. Manchester City midfielder and Ballon d'Or winner Rodri appears to be on his way to Barcelona.
Barcelona are about to sign Rodri, and if Manchester City and Barcelona complete the final details, things are about to become much more difficult for the rest of Europe. Because right now, everyone is looking at the obvious story: the money, the injury history, the fact that Rodri is already 30, the fact that Real Madrid believed they could bring him back to the Spanish capital.
There has been a lot of talk recently about his exit, and it looked like he was going to be heading to Real Madrid.
And every single one of them is missing what Barcelona are actually buying. For years, Barcelona's biggest fear has not been facing a stronger team. It has been losing control of a match they were already dominating. They could have 70% of the ball. Pedri could be controlling the midfield. Lamine Yamal could be forcing 3 defenders toward one side. The opposition could be trapped inside its own half. And then, one loose pass, one broken press, one runner through the centre, and suddenly, Barcelona were no longer attacking. They were surviving. That single moment has separated some of their most exciting teams from the teams that actually win the Champions League. And now, Barcelona are about to place one of the greatest control midfielders of his generation directly inside that weakness: Rodri, the player Manchester City lost all 4 matches without during his suspensions in 2023-24. The midfielder who led the Premier League with 3,365 completed passes, 376 progressive passes, and 378 passes into the final third that same season. The man who arrived outside Inter Milan's penalty area and scored the goal that completed Manchester City's treble. Then came the ACL and meniscus injury, but Rodri did not return quietly. He came back, captained Spain to the 2026 World Cup, broke his own tournament passing record, and finished with the golden ball. And now Hansi Flick is about to give him Pedri ahead of him, Yamal to his right, Gavi pressing around him, and Gordon, Adeyemi and Rafinha attacking the spaces his passing can open. This is the signing designed to stop that power from collapsing the moment a match becomes chaotic. This is why Rodri may not just complete Barcelona's midfield, he may complete the entire team. Let's start with the obvious question. Why did Barcelona need another midfielder? Hansi Flick already had Pedri pulling strings, Gavi hunting the ball like it owes him money, Frenkie de Jong gliding through pressure, plus Olmo, Fermin and 2 kids in Bernal and Casado built for the long haul. On paper, central midfield was the one room in the house that didn't need renovating. Then Frenkie came back from the World Cup with a torn MCL in his right knee. Conservative treatment, weeks of recovery, and suddenly Barcelona's most reliable pressure escape artist was unavailable right as the season kicked off. But here's the thing. Replacing de Jong and signing Rodri aren't the same job. De Jong solves problems by running at them, dribbling out of trouble. Rodri solves problems by making sure trouble never gets that close in the first place. He's the one dictating the first pass, guarding the middle, deciding how brave everyone else is allowed to be. De Jong's injury created the opening. Rodri's situation turned it into an opportunity. At 30, entering the last year of his City deal and refusing to extend, his stock had shifted. 2 summers earlier, buying a Ballon d'Or winner from the middle of Pep's engine room was fantasy football. Now, City had a decision to make: cash in or watch his value erode towards 0. Real Madrid smelt it first. Talks opened around 50-60 million euros, and the logic wrote itself. Madrid has the runners and the flair, but they've been missing someone to control the tempo when games get sticky. Rodri, born in Madrid, developed at Atletico, was being offered a homecoming. From the outside, this looked like Barcelona crashing someone else's transfer. Except Real Madrid never actually closed it. City's valuation stayed stubborn. Rodri's 30, and that 2024 ACL and meniscus tear, plus the muscle issues that followed, gave Madrid enough pause to sit on their hands and calculate risk instead of pulling the trigger. That hesitation was Barcelona's window. Deco moved once it was clear Rodri genuinely wanted out of England. Flick called him personally, not to offer another rotation role but control of the entire platform behind one of Europe's most relentless attacks. Rodri as the foundation beneath Pedri, Gavi and Olmo, shielding a high line, organising the counterpress. And he already knew half the dressing room from international duty. Pedri, Gavi, Olmo, Lamine Yamal. Doesn't guarantee anything, but it definitely lowers the anxiety of walking into a new country. Rodri told Real Madrid no. Mourinho was in those conversations and it still wasn't enough. Barcelona had won the only battle that actually mattered, the player. Now they just had to convince City to sell their captain, a world champion, a Ballon d'Or winner, the man their whole modern era was built around. Barcelona's opening bid landed around £38.5 million, roughly €45 million, closer to €50 million with add-ons. City laughed it off and wanted £60 million plus. Spanish reports had City's real number sitting between €70 and €80 million. Nobody sells that player off the first offer. Then there's La Liga's financial fair play machinery. Agreeing a fee with City doesn't register the transfer. Barcelona still had to find room for his wages and amortization, which usually means outgoing sales or restructured payments. A signed contract and a completed registration are two different documents. But the hard part, getting Rodri to choose Barca over Madrid, was already done. So why fight this hard for a 30-year-old with knee history? You have to go back to what made him worth fighting for in the first place. Atletico released him at 17 for being too weak. Villarreal picked him up, his body caught up to his brain, and he grew into a 6'2" midfielder with the touch of someone half his size. He debuted for Villarreal in 2015, learnt to receive under pressure and move the ball before opponents could close the gap. Not through flair, just relentlessly correct decisions. Atletico bought him back in 2018 for around €20 million, dropped him in Simeone's defensive boot camp for a season, and City triggered his £62.6 million release clause in 2019.
Guardiola didn't want a Fernandinho clone.
He wanted someone taller, more positional, built to control the ball for long stretches rather than just break up transitions. The numbers back it up. In 2021-22, he completed 91.8% of his passes at roughly 82 per 90, leading the league in completions inside the opposition half. By 2023-24, he'd racked up 3,988 touches, 3,365 completed passes, led the league in progressive passes, final third entries and carries, plus 235 recoveries, second in the league. And when he wasn't there, City lost all 4 games he missed through suspension that season: Wolves, Arsenal, a League Cup exit to Newcastle, then Villa. Not proof City can't function without him, proof of exactly what stops functioning. His signature moment, the 2023 Champions League final, City goalless against Inter until the 68th minute, Bernardo Silva squares it, Rodri arrives from deep and finishes. Treble sealed, player of the match, UEFA's player of the season.
Then Spain Nations League winner, Euro 2024 player of the tournament, then the Ballon d'Or. September 2024 nearly ended the story. ACL and meniscus, out until May 2025. Workload carefully managed through 2025-26. 33 appearances, 2 goals, nothing like his old rhythm. So the World Cup was the real test. Rodri captained Spain through 8 matches to the title. Beat Argentina 1-0 after extra time. Completed more passes than anyone at the tournament, broke his own 2022 passing record and won the Golden Ball, all without needing the goals or assists to prove it. His control was the output. Barcelona aren't gambling on nostalgia. They're signing a Champions League winner, European champion, world champion, Ballon d'Or holder, the exact player their football was missing.
Rodri doesn't make Barcelona more dangerous by adding another attacker. He makes the dangerous stuff they already do easier to keep doing. That's the whole point of him. Flick's Barcelona live on the edge, fullbacks bombing forward, midfielders pushing beyond the ball, forwards counter-pressing the instant possession's lost. When it clicks, opponents can't breathe. When it doesn't, one clean pass through the press strips out half the team and the centre-backs are left defending acres of grass against runners at full speed. We saw it in the 3-3 with Club Brugge in November 2025. Flick admitted the midfield press wasn't good enough, the high line got exposed, and he still refused to change the approach. Stubborn, in a good way. Rodri's job is to make that stubbornness survivable. He's not winning 40-metre sprints against 22-year-olds. Those days, if they ever existed, are gone. His defending happens earlier than that. He reads which way the receiver's body's facing, kills the passing lane before the counter even starts, and has an uncanny sense of where second balls are going to land. He doesn't protect the high line by chasing attackers down, he protects it by making sure the race never starts. That's what makes him the obvious organiser of Barcelona's rest defence, basically whoever's left behind the attack when it goes forward. Rodri holds the middle while fullbacks and midfielders push on, and the second the ball's lost, he steps into the passing lane, forces the play wide, buys everyone else a second to reset. 1 second doesn't sound like much. In this league, it's everything. His arrival also unlocks new midfield pairings. Next to Pedri, Rodri handles the ugly necessary work, receiving off the centre-backs, circulating, holding position, so Pedri doesn't have to drop into build-up duty every single time. And every time Pedri drops that deep, he's further from where his passing actually hurts people. Free him up into the half spaces, and he's combining around the box, linking with the wingers, attacking the gaps behind midfielders stepping out to press. Signing Rodri might be the same as upgrading Pedri. Pair him with Gavi, and you get a nice contrast. Gavi hunting, harrying, chasing lost causes into corners, knowing Rodri's reading the next pass behind him. Pair him with De Jong, and it's control plus penetration. Rodri sets the platform, De Jong breaks lines, carrying it. Opponents pressing that duo have to pick their poison. Against a low block, Rodri can sit as a lone pivot beneath Pedri and Elmo, or Pedri and Gavi, pushing 5 or 6 bodies into the opposition box without ever losing the middle of the pitch. Yamal might benefit the most of anyone. Teams are now sending 2 or 3 bodies to deal with him, fullback engaging, a midfielder tucking in, a centre-back covering the run in behind. The longer it takes Barcelona to get the ball to that side, the more time defences have to build that wall. Rodri attacks that with tempo, quick switches that reach Yamal before the second defender arrives, or drawing pressure centrally before releasing a diagonal the moment the opposition's midfield narrows. There's a massive gap between Yamal facing one isolated fullback and Yamal facing a 3-man trap. Rodri's distribution decides which version shows up. Rafinha gains too. People forget Rodri isn't just a patient circulation merchant. He spots a forward run and plays it early, through or over the midfield before the defence can retreat. Turn one Rodri recovery into an early ball, and a slow-building possession becomes an attack in 3 seconds flat, whether it's Rafinha, Gordon or Adeyemi making that run behind. He also solves Barcelona's own pressing problem. He's happy receiving with his back to goal, shields it, plays quick around the corner, and if a midfielder steps to close him down, he simply drags that man out of position before finding Pedri, De Jong or a fullback in the space he just vacated. Escape that first wave, and suddenly you're not attacking a settled block, you're attacking a defence with a hole in it. The Busquets comparisons are inevitable, but let's not pretend it's the same player wearing a different shirt. Busquets had that uncanny disguise, the body shapes, decades marinating in Barcelona's positional principles. Rodri is a different animal entirely, more physical, better in the air, a genuine goal threat, and battle-tested by the fastest league on earth. This isn't a nostalgia rebuild, it's an adaptation to Flick's more vertical, more physical version of the game. Don't sleep on his attacking side either. The winner in the 2023 Champions League final, 8 Premier League goals in 2023-24. When defences collapse around Yamal, space opens outside the box, and Rodri knows exactly when to arrive there. His real value might show up after Barcelona take the lead. Elite football isn't all about creating chances, it's about killing the moments when the game threatens to turn into pandemonium. Rodri slows it down, shields the ball under contact, wins fouls, drains the clock. He gives Flick a release valve, someone who knows when to speed the game up and when to strangle the life out of it. There's real risk here too. He's 30, not 23, carrying a 2024 ACL and meniscus tear and the muscle setback that followed. Even Guardiola admitted those were predictable after that kind of of injury. Flick's system demands constant pressing reps and reactive sprinting, so Barcelona can't stretch themselves so thin that Rodri's left defending open space alone. The structure has to protect him as much as it protects it, which means rotation isn't optional. Bernal can absorb league minutes and grow into the role gradually. Rodri doesn't need 60 appearances, he needs to be fresh for Clásicos, knockout football and the games that actually decide things. Casado, meanwhile, now finds himself further down a suddenly crowded pecking order. Financially, this isn't a resale value transfer, it's a bet on immediate leverage. Rodri won't fix bad pressing from the forwards, individual mistakes, sloppy fullback positioning, or set-piece frailty. Barcelona haven't just added another superstar, they've made Pedri more dangerous, made Yamal harder to trap, made Gordon and Adeyemi's runs behind more lethal in